All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13, as we're preparing to get underway for our second of 3 stints here for SEC's Spa Enduro, their 4th Enduro of 11 this year. Last event was pretty much a walkway by ESV Green, and now the question is going to be, will his teammate be able to take over that run? Looking at our driver list for who's going to be running today, P1R Turk is going to go back-to-back in stints. He's also going to be hosting the broadcast for Stint 3. TNR Skitty is back in the 727 TNR Mercedes. NWR Akina is back in the 45 Mercedes. EXR Unfolded is going to be back in the, I believe there's a 55 Dodge Viper. P1R Bunter will be in the other Dodge today. SG Blue Streak will be in the 365 HYR Mercedes. NWR Origin will be in the 808 Mercedes. NDL Circular CJRC 1110 is going to be in the 51 BMW M8. NDL Micro will be taking over the number 50 Ferrari, the lone Ferrari in the field. Deleve is going to be in the number 64 Mercedes. Cavatro will be in the number 28 Chevrolet. ESV Karts will be taking over the Stint 1 running Mercedes in the number 38 machine. TNR Geekin will be in the number 5 Mercedes. They were able to bring home a 4th in the prior stint. NDL Ardno will be back in the 4G our only forward entry. TNR Glizzy will be in the number 1 Mercedes. Beast Baller will be in the other Chevrolet. And RXFX will be in the 331 McLaren. NWR Shadow will be in the number 16 Mercedes. And NDL Pipes will be in the number 75 BMW M4. And somehow we have one more car than we did earlier. No, we don't. We have the same amount. I forgot. P1R Turk is going to be spectating, but he is not going to be driving in this stint, in this second stint here. So that's a quick rundown on what the event was like. Stint 1 was really not that crazy when it came to on-track action. The field got very spread out, and there weren't a lot of strategy variances early on, but after the first 2 stints, a lot of drivers started realizing that if they all just ran the same strategies, they would not be able to actually adjust their positionings at all. So lots of drivers started getting off strategy. In the end, 7 stops were the ideal strategy for most of the field, but not for ESV Green, who went ahead and made it a 8-stop strategy, just all softs all the way through to take home the victory. And now we load onto the circuit proper. Circuit now. Alright, and it looks like we're not even going to wait for the entire field to line up. Okay, that's interesting. So it looks like, unless I'm seeing this wrong, we're going to be going underway almost immediately. Dang. No holding back. 19 cars will be taking the field today, and yeah, I guess P1R Turk is running in this stint. Okay. So I guess we've gained a car somehow. SV Karts is going to be your leader here. It's 19 cars. The back few drivers still have yet to catch the rear of the grid. P1R Turk is really struggling to catch, and they are going much slower than the 65 that they had been earlier. But we're going to be going green once they hit the line that delineates the old pit lane exit. So Turk's just going to be kind of out of luck as we come down. Green flag goes underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. Is there anything that unfolded between due to karts at the start? It does not look like it. Cavatro and the Chevrolet has already gained a run on him, but it's all going to be nose to tail at the front of the grid. No big moves made this time by. Number 28 machine holding station. But already our top two are starting to pull away, and now Turk blacks out, so I guess Turk is just going to be hosting the lobby only then. Deacon in 4th position, where he finished stint 1 at. Apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I put the kettle on, but the race got started faster and the kettle took longer to heat than either of them should have, so I apologize for that. Anyways, TNR Geekin runs in 4th position, just behind Cavatro, but our leaders, Karts and Full, have already scooted away from the rest of the grid. Pipes and Micro in a little bit of a fight of their own for 6th and 7th position. Micro trying to make the Ferrari work in ways that his teammate could not make happen. You can see the Ferrari is just absolutely struggling to stay on track, and already we are seeing distance penalties popping up across the entire grid here. Might go back to 7th now. TNR Glizzy, his teammate, had lagged out early in stint 1, but he is trying to make a fight up through the field in the Mercedes, going around the outside of P1R Bunter, going into the turn 1 chicane. Now we're going to ride on board with Glizzy as they come down into the Al Rouge and Radion complex. Right now everyone's on relatively fresh tires, so everyone should feel their car being relatively good. Beast Baller a little bit sideways there and here comes Glizzy. He's got to run on the outside of Beast Baller. Drag race. Now it looks like he'll clear the Chevrolet by the time they get into the braking zone. Even though I heard some of the drivers were complaining about not having race brakes, the brakes on that Mercedes are still just as good, if not slightly better, than the rest of the field, it would appear. Karts and Unfolded, scooting away at the head of the field. The same duo of cars that scooted away early on in stint 1. The ESV driver made an 8-stop strategy work on en route to a win. Unfolded only did 7. Was close, but not really close enough to seriously fight while their final overtake was made in the closing 7 minutes of the race. It was pretty obvious early on that the ESV driver was going to win. Cavatro is doing a much better job holding station, though, right now than his Chevrolet teammate did in stint 1. And once we get to the line, I actually want to see what the tire wear is, the tire compounds are for most of the field here. So already almost 20% for Karts, and you use about 10% of your tires in a lap, so it's reasonable to say that Karts is on soft tires. Same thing with Unfolded. 3rd place, Cavatro. His tire life is at 18, so Cavatro likely starting on softs to try and avoid getting turned in the middle of the field. Beacon, who is in 4th, a little bit more tire wear, but we did see him have a slide in that turn in the first lap. NWR Shadow, who has just now dropped out of the top 5, he is at 21%, so he is not having a great time of it. TNR Geekin, who is now back to the 4th position he started at, he is at 20%. So right now it seems like most of the drivers, everyone in the top 5 are on the same tire strategy. It feels like everyone is on a very similar tire strategy. This is Micro. They're side by side up through Al Rouge and Radion. That is high risk, high, not really much of a reward for anyone there, but they got through without an incident. I'm just trying to see if there's anyone who's on the medium tires, and I don't see it. Everyone seems to be on medium tires here today. At least at the head of the field. All right, here we are. We finally found someone. You have to go all the way down to 10th. The Ford GT of Indiel Arno for someone who has not started this race on the soft tire compound. And look at this gaggle of cars he's in the middle of. Everyone packed on top of each other here on the run downhill through the no-name corner. There's barely any room to even catch your breath. Arkina and RX FFAX side by side. McLaren and Mercedes, and here comes the Ford GT to the inside of the Mercedes. Any position that Ford GT can grab now is going to be huge benefits later, potentially. But you have to wonder, if you're in the Ford GT, do you want to try doing the medium and then 7 soft runs afterwards? That seemed to be the better strategy for most of the field. Or do you want to try and do what the ESV drivers did and just run all softs all the way through and take the extra pit stop? You have to be really fast to be able to make that work. You cannot afford to spend time fighting, but right now, Arno is looking very punchy here in the middle of the field. He's going to be trapped on the outside here in this high-speed corner. He's going to have to give up some ground as the Mercedes of Origin sneaks back by him there. That's 3 laps down now. Well, realistically, it'll be 3 laps once they get to the line. SD Blue Streak has already lost touch with the field. It's not a great run for them today. Meanwhile, farther up the order. Fight for third. Vatro versus Geekin, and both of them already have earned time penalties. And at the head of the field, Unfolded versus Karts. The Dodge trying to go around the outside of the Mercedes of Karts. They'll keep them pinched. They're still side by side, but Karts has the inside in the following corner. Unfolded is trapped on the outside. They're still side by side, but Karts is just kind of denying Unfolded any chance to get alongside on his inside. He's basically saying to Unfolded, okay, if you want to make a move, you have to do it around the outside. But this is the first time we've had a serious fight for the top position in well over an hour. And Unfolded is not letting Karts get away here. Now Beastballer has also lost touch with the rest of the field here. And Cavatro and Geekin are not that far out from this duo. I'll give credit to the Dodge. The Dodge seems to have come to life here in the nighttime hours, and has really putting Karts under some pressure here. The top 4 all kind of in a zone of their own right now, and then 5th down to 16th in a giant messy pack. And then our last 2 drivers have lost touch with the rest of the field for now, but Unfolded is again right there behind Karts. Is he gonna try and make a move on the back straightaway again? He's gotta run. Immediately, Karts defends the extreme inside. Unfolded goes to the outside. It's a drag race down the straight, but this time, Karts had a good enough run. He will clear Unfolded. Does Unfolded make a lunge to the inside? No, he thinks better of it. So they won't go side by side through the corners this time. That should let them pull away from 3rd and 4th just a bit more, though. Ooh, Karts dropped the tire into the dirt, and Unfolded's right there. But the Mercedes goes a little bit deeper in this 180-degree sweeper. Now through No Name. Big slide for Karts there, just ahead of Unfolded. This is their 5th lap thus far, 5th lap of running. Kvatro looks to be closing on this duo, which would be very interesting. Again, that Chevrolet started up near the front. In third, Stint won, but slipped to fourth, but now it is third and closing down on our leaders. We may have to take an ad break sooner than I wanted to here. I do apologize for that. We'll try to keep our eyes on this fight until they get down the back straightaway, until they leave the back straightaway, the Camel Straight. But after that, we will have to take a break. Twitch mandated break, and I do apologize for that. Karts has opened the gap up just a little bit on Unfolded this time, going down, start-finish line straight. But the Dodge immediately closes up in the hairpin. But the gap is about twice the size it was last lap through here. So Kart seems to have everything starting to come his way. He is starting to come to life here at Spa. Ooh, Unfolded ran a little wide, but let him close in on Karts just a little bit. He's got a run. Boy, does he have a run. Does he make a move to the inside? He's thinking of it, but will not push it. Our top two stay nose to tail. Kvatro in third continues to try and slowly close in. We're going to take an ad break. We'll be back in about 90 seconds here. Well, welcome back here to Spa-Francorchamps. Everyone, with two exceptions, Ardno and Circle Jerk, have pitted after their first 6 laps of racing. These two drivers are on medium tires, trying to go on an alternate strategy, make something else happen here. But of our 18 drivers, well, of our 17 drivers, Blue Streak's not gotten to the pits yet, but everyone else has already gone ahead and made their first stop. And yeah, Blue Streak has not pitted yet. But in the end, after pit stops were over, this is the wild part. Unfolded ended up ahead of Karts coming out of the pits. So he couldn't pass him on track, but he passed him in the pit lane. So Dodge goes to the top here at Silverstone. Oh, and NDL Pipes has had an incident by the looks of it. Something has happened to the car. He is out of fuel. The car did not get new fuel in. Oh, and NDL Pipes in the BMW. This is going to derail their run. They have no fuel in the car. Now, the good news for Pipes is that the majority of Sector 2 is all downhill. So if he can just clutch ride it, he should be able to get around most of the circuit, but I don't know if he'll be able to get back to pit lane. We'll keep an eye on that as it continues. But NDL Pipes, their day has been completely derailed. Your leader is Ardno. Second place, and the other BMW is Circle Jerk. And then or CGARC, but I call him Circle Jerk. And then ESR Unfolded is keeping ESV Karts behind with Cavatro in 5th, and Cavatro continues to close slowly but surely on this duo. So the moon is out, the lights are on, and suddenly we have a race at the head of the field here at Spa. Unfolded holding station over Karts. And the big thing is that this duo is about to catch traffic here on this lap in the form of Circular, who is on an alternate strategy. And Cavatro has caught them. So this is now legitimately a 3-driver fight for 3rd, which will eventually turn into the lead once our top 2 pit. Well, I said he had caught them, but it seems like Cavatro lost time coming out of the hairpin, and NDL Pipes has left, so I guess the lack of fuel was just too terminal for him. So Cavatro does not seem to have the run on this duo that looked like he did. But now, Karts and Unfolded are tucked up behind NDL Circular. And all the while, NDL Ardno in the Ford GT is trying to maintain his gap over this duo. This is great news for Karts though, because this might give him a shot to overtake Unfolded here. Ooh, the Dodge is really sideways coming out of the corner. All right, it got a run on the BMW, but not enough. The Dodge is not that fast in a straight line. And Circular has the inside line, so this is going to be really difficult. Can these two hold the outside? Unfolded completes the overtake. Karts still hasn't completed the overtake. He's lost a bunch of time now in the process. They go deep under braking, and now Karts clears Circular, and here comes Cavatro. Cavatro will have to clear the BMW in a straight line here and try to beat him to the inside. But Unfolded has now actually opened the gap on Karts. And yes, Cavatro has already cleared him. So CJ now slips to 5th after that. Karts has to try and run Unfolded down. The good news is the Mercedes has a great straight line setup, and he should have the draft of the Dodge to let him close the gap down just a little bit here. For Ardno, who's still leading on the medium tires, he is at 56% wear. He'll likely be coming in on this lap. So I don't think that the overall leaders are going to catch and really screw over Ardno here. But the big thing is Ardno is now going to be on a radically different pit stop strategy compared to everyone else, basically for the rest of the run. The only other person on the same strategy as him is CJ there in 5th. Also, Blue Streak has finally made his first stop of the day. But yeah, if you can go 20 minutes on a set of medium tires, and it's a 120-minute race, in theory, you could make it a 6-stop event. But maybe Ardno is going to say, screw that, and he'll just run softs to the end. He would have, for the most part, a tire advantage to the rest of the race. Might have a distance disadvantage, but he should have a tire advantage for the rest of the race. And credit where credit is due, Ardno kept that Ford GT in a top 10 position before the first round of stops, and now he's turned a bunch of laps in clean air. He has just now been caught by Unfolded, but again, we're assuming Ardno pits this time by. Unfolded goes around the outside, and Arno is not going to make an issue of it. And we know that CJ will join him as well. But it is Unfolded, Karts, and Cavatro, and Cavatro is right behind Karts as they go into the turn 1 hairpin this time. Well, it might not be a fight for first, maybe a fight for second we could be looking at here, but Cavatro already has 0.2 of a mile in distance penalties. There's definitely some desperation if you've already racked up that much when we're not even a quarter of the way through stint 2 here. But again, the Mercedes is so much better in the high-speed corners that Cavatro might have the draft, but he just can't do anything when you lose so much time going through Al Rouge and Radion. The Mercedes is in a different zip code from everyone else, and honestly, Unfolded is the first time we've seen the Dodge be able to take the fight properly to him. To be fair, Cavatro is gradually closing the gap down. The other thing is that Karts has no distance penalty yet, while the 2 drivers around him do. So that does suggest good things for Karts going forward. 4th place is TNR Geekin, and for a while I thought Geekin might have had a chance to run them down, but it's very obvious that even when our top 2, now top 3 are fighting, Geekin does not have the speed to keep up with them. All nose to tail here through Sector 2 and on to Sector 3. Again, Karts has the toe off of Unfolded. He's got to run. He's got to go to the outside. Outside is a risky move to go through here because you'll be on the outside in a braking zone and maybe run off circuit a little bit. Door checking. And Karts gives up and falls back in line behind Unfolded. Now he'll go to the other side, but that's still the outside once he gets into the chicane. But if Karts gets a good traction through here, he could pull out of it in the lead. And that's exactly what happens. Karts had a smoother run through, and Karts goes back to the top. Vatra is still right there in 3rd, but not making a position yet. Unfolded to the inside of Karts. They'll be side by side in turn 1. Unfolded goes deep into the zone. Karts backs out, does the crossover on exit. Karts holds the position back. But now Karts will have Unfolded and Cavatro behind him as he goes down the Camel Straight. Unfolded is tucked up right behind the Mercedes rear wing. No moves made that time. In Stint 1, Karts held the lead the entire time. Stint 2, though, it's been kind of half and half, and Karts has gotten by Unfolded, but they're going to be pitting here in the next lap. Next lap? I don't think it'll be the next lap. It'll be lap after this one. Yeah, they'll be paying the lap after this one. We're gonna knock out a ad break here so we can catch the field as they make their next round of pit stops. 3 cars fighting at the head of the field. Don't go away. We'll be back here shortly at Spa. welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. Top 5 positions all seem to have stabilized right now, but there's a trio of Mercedes here for 6th, 7th, and 8th, all having a bit of a giggle fit with each other. Shadow goes off circuit. That's probably going to give him a lot of time penalties. And look at Arkina, already 0.396 miles worth of distance penalties. It took over half of the stint in stint 1 to see someone hit that number, but we've seen this within the first quarter, so this could be going real bad for Arkina here. Could be on track to getting over a mile worth of distance penalties by the time this is over. This fight's just about to solve itself here, and we're going to see everyone with the exception of Indiel CJRC and Indiel Ardno pitting this time by. We've lost one driver. Do not look at Turquoise, the lobby host. We've lost one driver in the form of Indiel Pipes after they did not get the car refueled in the first pit stop, and he was not able to make it around the circuit, so he backed out. Here we are. Now we're going to see everyone making their stops here. I don't anticipate that, I do not anticipate Ardno will take the lead on this circuit. But Ardno has been stuck, not in the middle of a fight, but in the middle of a pack of cars. He's gaining the toe off of this duo with this trio of Mercedes. But yeah, now Ardno will be in clean air, heading down the straight. But again, we are pretty much guaranteed that Unfolded, Karts, and Cavatro will end up on track ahead of the Ford GT here. You can already see the three of them coming out of pit lane. But Ardno now cycles up into 4th position. The only downside for Ardno's strategy is that he has still ended up with nearly a quarter of a mile in distance penalty already, just a quarter of the way through the race. And again, in pit lane, Unfolded got ahead of Karts, but Karts is immediately taking the fight to the dodge. They are already side by side, and Karts clears Unfolded. Now Unfolded comes steaming back. Gonna be side by side in the following corner. The dodge has the line of choice. Karts trapped on the outside, Unfolded on the inside. Unfolded needs to go deep to keep Karts trapped on the outside. No! Karts cuts down in front of Unfolded, but can't keep it there. The car washes wide past the apex. They're still side by side, but Karts now has the inside. The following corner, Unfolded tries to get the crossover on exit. There's no room. Ardno is actually keeping pace with our top 3 just for the moment, but I imagine that will bleed out as Ardno's tires continue to age while these 3 have fresher rubber for the moment. Karts, Unfolded, and Cavatro. Cavatro has just been close enough to be in the range, but he's only in the range as long as he's cutting the track and getting distance penalties. At the rate it's going, Cavatro is going to be looking at a mile worth of distance penalties by the end of this stint. So even though he's in the area, he is not going to be looking good when it comes to overall results here. Nose to tail, Karts and Unfolded. Unfolded looks outside, Karts blocks. And this sector, the front start finish line straight, is honestly where Cavatro is the strongest. And then he just kind of bleeds out time around the rest of the lap and immediately closes in a huge bunch in that final chicane and the front straightaway each time. They're all nose to tail for our top 3 positions again. No, Ardno is still keeping pace with our top 3 at the moment. But Karts is starting to pull away from Unfolded now. Ooh, but Karts had to back out of it in Al Rouge this time. That's not something we've seen a lot of, but Karts showed a little bit of weakness there in the Al Rouge Radeon complex. Now Unfolded has around the outside. He gets the nose out ahead, and he will go deep under braking. He's by Karts. Karts, though, is going to try and do to Unfolded what Unfolded did last time. He can't make it stick. So this time, Unfolded is the one who completes the overtake on track. Cavatro was right there, but still not willing to push the issue. And Ardno continues to hold station, hold ground with this group. Again, Ardno, if he's doing the 7-stop strategy, he's already used the only medium tires he'll need. If everything else is softs to the end, this could turn out fantastic for him because he's only going to keep getting faster and faster. The only downside is he's got a lot of distance penalty already, over a quarter of a mile. But how spread out the field was at the end of the last stint, that may not matter. Still nose to tail at the head of the field. And again, Cavatro just loses ground throughout most of Sector 1 and 2. Here comes Karts. He's got to run, and he's got to be on the inside of Unfolded this time. Is Unfolded going to push the issue? No, he lets Karts have it. He does not want to go off circuit and get more distance penalties. There will be nose to tail again as they go through the final chicane and on to the start-finish stretch once more. Only 2 drivers don't have distance penalties yet. That is ESV Karts and NDL CJ. Down the front straightaway, into the hairpin again. And this time, Ardno actually closed a bit on the top 3. Again, the big thing though is that Unfolded doesn't even have a 1/20th worth of a mile of a distance penalty yet. And Karts has no penalties, but Ardno and Cavatro do. So even if they keep touch, it may not matter because of the massive distance penalties they have. Unfolded has a huge run on Karts this time. He's going to muscle his way to the inside of the Mercedes. How deep do you want to go under braking? Boy, Karts gotten real physical there and just kind of forced Unfolded off of the line he had already committed to, so that way he could hold the top spot. They're getting physical at the head of the field now. As lap traffic in the form of SV Blue Streak that this trio is about to close in on. Blue Streak is on track to go a lap down twice today. This is not looking good for him at all. About 35 minutes into the event. And it is still nose to tail for our top 3 positions. But Karts seems to have the advantage for the most part, although Unfolded is showing some good tempered aggression. And for whatever reason, he seems to be better coming in and out of the pit stop cycle. Ardno in the 4GT is finally losing ground to this trio as his tires are aging out. But Ardno could be a sleeper fighter for a podium position based on how the rest of this event goes. CJ will join him in the pits as well. This also puts TNR Geek back into the 4th spot. Nose to tail for our top 3 positions. But I think the gaps are opened up just a little bit, that we'll not likely see any moves made unless Karts has a big issue. And he did! Boy, he slid off track and had to let off there so he wouldn't get a distance penalty. And Unfolded has an even bigger run than he did last time. Thing is, the distance is bigger as well, so I don't think he's going to have the time to make the move. Yeah, he does not make the move. He pulls up behind Karts' rear wing, but does not make the move. So Karts is showing a bit of weakness in the Al Rouge and Radion section. Now they come up to traffic. Blue Streak holds the inside. It goes hard under the brakes, so he doesn't hold any of them up. So Blue Streak will not have an impact on our top 3. So a Mercedes at the front and Mercedes at the very back of the field. Blue Streak actually got a distance penalty while letting the lead group go. That is not good by any means. What has happened to Ardno? He is lost a lot of ground in the pit lane this time. CJ, who pitted with them, is actually ended up well ahead. What's happened to Ardno? Well, whatever happened, this may have just derailed Ardno's entire strategy and taken him out of a fight from not just top 3, but a top 5. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that may have just, whatever happened, we did not catch it, but it's derailed the 4GT's shot at a good result here. And while CJ is still on that same strategy, he does not have the pace, I think, to get anything higher than about a 6th or a 7th. Karts continues to be the strongest of the trio here at the head of the field, but he is not strong enough to run away from Unfolded or Cavatro. Cavatro has also kind of managed to stem the bleeding when it comes to losing distance now. He's staying closer to the 2 ahead for a little longer and isn't gaining as many time penalties now, but he's still behind the 8 ball compared to the 2 of them. Again, Karts, I wonder if Karts is just sending it too hard through Alvarez and Radion, and when he's dropping tires in the dirt, that's killing his momentum. It may not feel like it is, but I wonder if that's what's happening. Unfolded has a gigantic run. He goes to the inside. He's going to have to go deep if he wants this position. Karts cuts him over and nearly turns Unfolded in the process. He just cut right over onto the Dodge and basically knocked the Dodge sideways. I imagine that would get looked at post-race. And Deleve down there in 14th already has a half-mile distance penalty. Karts is the only driver with no distance penalties thus far, but the way that he's been driving, he might be looking at a post-race penalty with how aggressively he turned down and Unfolded in the braking zone like that. Deleve now at 0.576 miles. What in the devil is going on with Deleve? Meanwhile, that hit that Karts did to Unfolded has knocked Unfolded off of Karts' rear wing and kind of pushed him back into Cavatro's range. So is Cavatro going to try and make a move? Karts backs out just a little bit. Oh, and now all of a sudden Karts had a bit of an issue there in the corner. Here comes Unfolded trying to go the long way around in the chicane. Karts blocks him again. Just parks the car right onto the racing line. That is completely legal and reasonable, to be fair. This time Unfolded's the one who drops tires in the dirt, but oh my god, he's got such a better run on Karts. Let's check something. Is Karts on medium tires or something? No, he's at 53. I don't think he's on medium tires. Yeah, no, that is no medium tires. This time Unfolded's the one who slams Karts. They're still side by side, but Karts has the inside line, the preferred lane of choice here. And he's run Unfolded off the circuit. This time Karts ran Unfolded off track. And now Unfolded falls to third. Cavatro now goes up into second. Karts is getting sloppy. He's making a lot more contact than he needs to. I'm going to knock out an ad break here, and when we come back, we should see these three as they come out of the pits. All right, welcome back to spawn. They are 3 wide out of the pit lane. 3 wide out of the pit lane, and TNR Skinny's the one who lags out this time. Cavatro goes to the lead, though. It's Cavatro, who in the span of the lap has gone from 3rd to 1st. Karts is 2nd, Unfolded is 3rd. We don't know what's happened to Skinny, but Karts has a run on Cavatro. He's going to the inside of the Chevrolet. Neck and neck. Karts already has a position taken by the time they get to the end of the Camel Straight. Now Cavatro is under threat from Unfolded behind in the Dodge. That kind of fighting between the 3 of them would be enough to let Karts scoot away. They are going to come up on traffic. I believe that is Blue Streak? Is that Blue Streak ahead of him? Yeah, that's Blue Streak ahead of him, but I don't think Blue Streak is going to have a big impact on this fight considering how quickly he pulled over last time. Cavatro holding station over Unfolded for now. But they were 3 wide coming out of the pit lane. This may just all come down to, do any of these drivers change their strategy? Do they get onto the medium tires at a time different from the others? Because if they all keep running on top of each other like this, they're all just going to slow each other down. Though for Karts, that may not matter. Because again, Karts does not have any distance penalties thus far. Kind of bullshit considering the way he's been racing. But Karts does not have any distance penalties thus far. And Unfolded barely has any. The thing is that the amount of distance penalties that Unfolded does have would be enough to plop him back behind Karts if he was to finish right ahead of Karts at the end of 2 hours. And that's assuming Unfolded can get back ahead of Karts and stay ahead of the Mercedes. But you can see the Mercedes is very obviously the strongest car in the field. It just seems like, unlike Green, Karts is struggling to pull that 100% out of it. Cavatro has the toe off of Karts, but he loses time going through Al Rouge and Radion, so he's not exactly able to do anything to him. And Unfolded just seems to be backing off a little bit. Maybe just hoping that these two fight it out a little bit more, have some sort of mess happen. It also may just be that he's getting exhausted. We have been at this for a bit over 45 minutes now. Top 3 are now really starting to spread out this time by. I think that we've kind of figured out how this is going to go to the end of this. It's taken about 3 stop cycles this time. But it seems pretty clear that Karts is maybe a bit sloppy, but he is most definitely the faster of the trio right here. At Unfolded, in that Dodge, you just can't, you cannot make a move on the Chevrolet, it seems. Unless maybe Unfolded is trying to salvage his tires. He's giving up lap time maybe to salvage his tires. Or maybe he's on the mediums. I should actually check that here. Let's see here. Karts is at 20%. Cavatro, I imagine, would also be at 20%, right? Yeah. Has Unfolded jumped onto medium tires? No, he's on soft still. They're all at the same amount of tire wear. So for whatever reason, Unfolded has lost ground to our top 2. Not a lot of ground, but he is losing touch with them now. And Cavatro's thinking about making the dive, but the Chevy is just not competent in any GT series I've seen run. The Chevy is just not competent in anything. It's too well-rounded. It doesn't have any single strength that you can really rely on. Slides a little wide, and Cavatro's looks to the inside, but isn't really willing to push the issue. Unfolded now has 0.07 miles of distance penalties. Yeah, it's all starting to come unglued for the Dodge of Unfolded, it would appear. And while Karts is being challenged by Cavatro, the massive difference in distance penalties, Karts still having none, somehow, really doesn't really mean a lot of anything. Now, if we see this duo actually get side by side, it could drag Unfolded back into the fray. But the Chevy just does not have the performance to get alongside. Did someone else just lag out? It would be our third different not finish of the day. And it's Ardno! No! The 4GT entry of NDL Ardno now drops out. Oh, wow. Cavatro way off track there. That's going to massively add to his distance penalties. And then not on top of that, he also lost time. It's one of the things I don't like about this game. The game will penalize you if you go off track and lose time. So yeah, this is now basically no longer a fight for the win. It's just going to be a matter of who ends up being second now. Because Karts has just not gotten any penalties. At least not in the event. There may be something coming post-race, but we'll see. Geekin is not too far out from this group. The thing is that Geekin still has earned 0.159 miles worth of distance penalty, so he is not really in a position to eclipse anyone ahead of him. And then RF is hanging out in fifth kind of by himself right now. Then you have Arkina, CJ, Glizzy, Shadow. These two are actually in a bit of a fight going down the straight. A pair of Mercedes neck and neck. They have almost the exact same amount of distance penalties, but Shadow has the move for now. Glizzy has to back out of it. Then you have to go a little bit farther back. This is MWR Warden and another one of the Mercedes with P1R Bunter just a bit behind him. Then it's Micro Leave, who is now at 0.6 of a mile of distance penalties, and then Beast Baller, who is going to go a lap down, probably with about 40 minutes left, and then Blue Streak, who's already a lap down at this stage of the event. This section here, the front straightaway, is where Cavatro shows the most strength. He's just not able to keep up with Karts, and Unfolded has completely lost the plot. I have to wonder, is Unfolded just saving his tires? Is he going to try and go a lap farther? 41% for Karts. For Unfolded, 39. That's about 2% difference. 2% difference in only 4 laps. That would be a 3% difference in 6 laps. I don't know. And again, that's assuming that the fuel's going to be in the Dodge also to go the extra lap. Yeah, Cavatro might be representing the world's best car, but the GT3 variant is honestly dog water in every Forza Motorsport series I have seen. I have not yet seen a single event in this game or Forza 7 where the Chevrolet was legitimately good. I've seen drivers get respectable results at it, pushing above the weight, but I've never seen the Chevrolet GT3 be good in any series in Forza 7 or Forza 8. So big credit to Quattro, basically dragging that car higher than it has any right to be at this stage of the event. We're going to knock out an ad break here before they start doing their next round of pit stops. And when we come back, we should see the field begin to do what would be their fourth round of pit stops here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's still tied at the head of the field. Don't go away. Welcome back here to Spa-Francorchamps. No change at the head of the field, although Unfold continues to drop away from our top two. Our leaders should be pitting relatively shortly here. Quattro is at 59%. He's going to be at 60%. What is Unfolded's tire wear at? 55. He doesn't have the fuel, I don't think, to go another lap. So if Unfolded was trying to go an extra lap on fuel and on tires, he doesn't have the fuel for it. He's just legitimately lost pace. And yeah, he's going to come in tired. Oh my god, what is Quattro doing? Quattro is staying out another lap. His tires are cooked, but he's staying out another lap. Quattro trying to drag the car one lap further on distance. Now, if he makes this work now and then does it again later, he could cut the race down to maybe only being a 6-stop affair. But that would be a big if. A big if. And he would lose not only time this time, but he would lose time at the very end as well. But might it be enough if he does it now and then replicates it at the very end of the final stint? Would it get him something? Obviously, you have to try something. Karts might be a bit aggressive, but he is too fast to be overtaken on track. The Mercedes that he is in is too overpowered. You've got to do something. How is this going to turn out? Unfolded has ended up ahead of Karts again. So despite giving up a bunch of time on the track, after the pit stops were over, Unfolded is back ahead of Karts. Not really sure how this happened. The gap was really big between the two of them, but Unfolded is now back ahead of the Mercedes. So Karts now suddenly on the back foot again, but again, the Mercedes has been by far the best car all day today, and now all night tonight. And Karts is showing that he can, unlike Green, he can be challenged. He can have some pressure on him, but he's been responding well to the pressure. He's the only driver to not have a distance penalty yet. Now Cavatro's in the pits. Where is he going to end up in relation to this group? He went an entire extra lap on his tires. If he's trying to cut out a pit stop, he'll have to do it again later in the event. But this could work. It could grade him down to only needing to make 6 stops instead of 7. Karts has a run on Unfolded here. He's beat him through the chicane once before. Can he do it again? Not this time. Cavatro is still in the pit lane, and now he's been overtaken. Well, it's not even close. This duo has massively opened up the gap on Cavatro. But again, Cavatro, if he's going for extending the life of the softs to try and cut out a pit stop, maybe there's something in this. Maybe. And if this duo continues to fight with each other, Cavatro, who will now, for a while, have tires that are fresher than this duo, might be able to close the gap back down on them. But he needs to not add distance penalties to himself. Karts has a giant run on Unfolded. The Mercedes massively faster in a straight line, but he does not make the move, not this time. A little bit less than half of the stint to go. And again, for those of you who want to see more of P1R Spa Enduro, you will see P1R Turk broadcasting the 3rd stint about an hour after this broadcast ends. Oh, does Karts now have distance penalty? He does! It's not much, but Karts now has distance penalties. He still has less than Unfolded, so if they were to finish where they are now, he would still get back ahead of Unfolded, but Karts has now gotten distance penalties. So he's now showing some weakness. These two at the head of the field have 2 of the 3 lowest amounts of distance penalties thus far today. CJ in 5th, trying to make an alternate strategy work because he jumped on the mediums for the first stint. I think he's just been going soft since. He has cycled his way up to 5th. I think that's about as highest as he can really go for, though. Also, Cavatro is at risk of being caught by TNR Geekin here. Is Cavatro on mediums by chance? Oh, Cavatro's put on mediums. So he went a lap longer on the softs, and now he's on the mediums, so Cavatro is getting way off sequence. He's betting that Unfolded and Karts will both have to give up and run mediums, or that they're going to lose a bunch of time fighting with each other. The thing is that Geekin right behind Cavatro is going to make things problematic, because Cavatro will have to get back by Geekin later after Geekin finally makes his stop. Well, not after Geekin makes his stop, but after Geekin finally jumps on the memes as well. So he's going to have to lose time here and then lose time again and back by later. Unfolded drops the tire into the dirt this time. Karts is now up to 0.061 miles. So now it's just 0.009 soundscape miles of a difference. But Karts has the run on the inside of Unfolded. He's going to clear him, I think. Yes, he does. He clears him at the end of the Camel Straight. Unfolded immediately closes right back in behind the Mercedes, though. Yeah, 0.009 mile difference. That comes down to just 47.5 feet. So at that gap of 47.5, that would still be enough that if Unfolded was just right ahead of Karts, Karts would still take the victory. Unfolded needs Karts to get more distance penalties, but considering that all of a sudden the distance penalties are starting to rack up for Karts, that may be in the cards. CJ finally making his 4th stop of the day. Kvatro back there in 4th. Trying to use the draft off of Geekin so he doesn't lose too much time on our 2 leaders. Again, we don't know what our leaders' strategies are going to be. Are one of them going to try and make the 8th stop work? Or are they going to jump onto the mediums in the final stint? And how is that going to cycle in with Kvatro? Because Kvatro went a lap longer on softs earlier, then also jumped onto the mediums now. So he's going to have a significant tire advantage now to the end of the race after he gets rid of the current sets of mediums. But he will have to deal with TNR Geekin and have to manually overtake Geekin on track, though. And that could skew the results for him. They are coming up on, is that Beast Baller? I believe that is Beast Baller. Yes, they are coming up on Beast Baller a little faster than I thought they would, honestly. Karts is at 36% tire wear, 34 on the rears. And Unfolded, who runs just behind, is at 35% tire wear. He's actually wearing his tires a little bit more evenly all around. But as these as the tires are going longer, Unfolded seems to be losing ground to Karts. Unfolded is at its strongest when the tires are freshest, but then seems to lose overall lap time as the stint goes on. Now, I've normally said that's normally just the Mercedes are better, but I don't think that's a matter of the Mercedes being better. I think that may just be a matter of tuning, because it's not by a massive amount. Now they've caught Beast Baller, who is right ahead of them in the final chicane. There's just not really anywhere for you to go in the final chicane to not be in the way of faster traffic. So Beast Baller's going to take an extreme inside line. And now he's cycled in right in between our leaders. Oh, he's hit Karts from behind! Now he pulls off, but I imagine that neither of this duo are going to be happy with where Beast Baller was in the middle of that, but it has brought Unfolded back a little closer to Karts this time by. As they go through Al Rouge and Radion once more. Just about nose to tail. Oh, and Unfolded has a run on the outside! Drag race down the Camel straightaway. But the Mercedes is faster in a straight line, and he's been able to brake way later, so it should still be Karts in the top position. But Unfolded is keeping Karts on top of it. And traffic was all it took for Unfolded to get right back alongside. And again, when they come in and out of the pits, Unfolded seems to blitz Karts in the pit lane. And now Kvatro's been caught already. I mean, not Kvatro. Beast Baller's already been caught by Geekin, and now already been passed by Geekin, and will likely end up influencing Kvatro's run as well here. Boy, the run on the memes, you lose so much time. I can understand why ESV Greed in Stint 1 elected to just do an extra stop on the softs, because the softs are just so much better here. And Unfolded just is losing ground again to Karts. Not as much as where he was at the end of the last stint, but still losing it. You're almost at 50% here. one thing I will say is that Unfolded is a little bit smoother on his tire wear. Potentially Unfolded could consider making it 7 softs on the softs and dragging the final round stint out, but I would not be doing that. Maybe I would do that if I was adding a lap or two throughout the majority of the event, but I just don't see that strategy working out. Into the Al Rouge Radeon complex again. They will pit at the end of this lap. Again, Unfolded has a great run out of the Al Rouge Radeon section. He goes to the outside this time, but again, Karts is faster. Not really anything that you can do. And Unfolded does not have what it takes in the car to make a big dive bomb at the end of the Camel Straight. And even if he did, Karts would likely get back on him coming out of 7. So it's not, I don't really blame Unfolded for this, but Unfolded's kind of in a losing battle where you can't really defend, you can't really attack, you keep getting a position back on pit stops, but there's nothing you can do when the other car is just so much faster. He needs Karts to get more distance penalties. They've come down to what's only about 54 feet worth of distance gap between them, but they have been running within 20 feet of each other most of this time. We're gonna knock out an ad break here, and when we come back, we'll see them coming out of the pit stops, out of the pits. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps, and again, Unfolded ended up ahead of Karts out of the pits. But Karts has a big run on the outside. Is he gonna dive deep under the braking to try and get by Unfolded? It's worked before, can he make it work again? It's not even a question. It's so obvious that he can do it every time, it just doesn't matter. And NWR Shadow is now legged out, so we have basically lost a driver after every round of pit stops. Out to Shadow here if he's willing to jump in and talk with us, but it has been one of those days for Shadow and for the NWR team as a whole. The other drivers are doing fine-ish in the midfield, but we're kind of expecting more from them. EXR continues to run right behind ESV. Vatro is ahead of both of them right now. He is on an alternate strategy, running on mediums, trying to push the mediums nice and far. We still don't know what this duo is doing, but Cavatro is getting his medium stint out of the way about halfway through the event. And then he'll be on soft tires to the end of the race. Beastballer pits. So he won't factor into this duo this time around. We now only have 12 drivers out of the 18 that started. Only 12 of them are still on the lead lap. Mostly because we have seen 4 different drivers lag out, and then obviously both Blue Streak and Beastballer have just been so slow that they've not been able to keep pace on the lead lap today. And Karts is already starting to open the gap on Unfolded here, it seems. Unfolded is faster than Karts in the Al Rouge Radion section. And it's hard to tell if it's because of a setup that Karts has, or if it's just the Mercedes loses some of its incredible speed or incredible high-speed handling at night. But overall, Mercedes is still the strongest car in the field, without a doubt. Most of the fights on track have kind of broken up, but there is this here going on, and this fight's kind of gone back and forth for a while. NDL Micro in the Ferrari versus NWR Arkina in the Mercedes. Micro is doing the, I think, the all-medium strats as well. But when it comes to distance penalties, here's something else that's worth talking about. The highest amount of distance penalty thus far, to leave almost at 3/4 of a mile at this stage of the event. The second highest is Arkina in the middle of this fight right now at .616. A lot of drivers stacked up a bunch of distance penalties early on, but then as this has gone on, they've kind of gotten it back under control. But Arkina and Deleve have not been able to do that. Seems like Arkina has the advantage over Micro for now, but big thing is, though, Micro is on a radically different strategy. I also do want to go ahead and give a shout out to NDL CJ here. While he is the only driver, Ardno had been on the same strategy. He was the only driver who started on the medium and has just been going on soft since, but CJ has turned a lot of laps in clean air, and I think, especially when you factor in the very small amount of distance penalty he has right now, I think NDL CJ is on track to pull out a top 5 result in the BMW, which is great news because the other BMW, the M4 entry of Pipes, dropped out. They retired immediately after the first round of stops because they did not get enough. They did no fuel in Pipes' machine. He literally came back out on track with like 0.3%, and while he was able to get through all of Sector 2, kind of just coasting downhill, it was not possible for him to get to the pit lane to finish. So, not a great run for him. Unfolded continues to lose ground to Karts, just does not have the pace to keep up with them as the track rubber is in, it would appear. And Cavatro now finally paying out the lead. Now we know that Cavatro is going to end up being way behind this duo, but he's now going to have a bit of a tire advantage to the end of the event. The question, of course, is going to be, will Karts and Unfolded make this a 7-stop race and put on mediums at some point of the event? Or are they going to try and make it 8 stops, all on softs? Cavatro is committed to what we believe will be the 7-stop strategy. Will likely just be running softs to the end here. They'll only need 2 more pit stops after this. This duo, they're looking at 3, maybe 2 if one of them decides to go to the mediums. Big thing, though, is that Karts is really kind of opening up the gap on Unfolded. While Unfolded keeps closing the gap back down into the pits cycle, on track, it is very obvious that Karts is really not tiring out, while I think Unfolded is starting to burn out and tire out just a bit here. CJ is now making his stop, and also he'll be going by Micro. Bit of a fight between Origin and Bunter here. Origin's been in several fights throughout the event. And you also have Glizzy, who's just a little bit farther back behind them as well. Not quite nose to tail here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to check what the tire life is right now on Karts. It's at 39. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and ride on board silently for a lap on board with ESV Karts. Give you an idea what a flying lap is here at Spa-Francorchamps in the dominant Mercedes here at night. Go silent in the booth for about 2 minutes, 20 seconds or so while we do so. So, welcome back to Spa, and a little bit of interesting stuff. As our dominant driver today, Karts, has elected to pit a lap earlier than what he's been doing most of the event. He only went 5 laps instead of 6, so I have to wonder, what is Kart's strategy? He has pitted a lap earlier than we anticipated. If he put on mediums or softs, he'll probably only have to make 1 more stop. But if he's gone on softs again, he'll still have to make 2 more. And the crazy thing is, Cavatro is now ahead of him, and Cavatro should be on softs. So Karts has pitted a lap early. This also has put Unfolded back into the lead right now. Also, for the moment, Geekin cycles up to being second. We'll see Unfolded pit this lap, but a very strange case. I have to wonder if maybe Karts has done this because he doesn't want to end up pitting and then having to overtake Unfolded again coming out of the pits. Yeah, he's been able to do it each time without issue, but I have to wonder if that's the strategy. Or is Unfolded setting himself up for just one more stop after this, doing a medium soft or a soft medium? Because if it goes soft soft, I mean, maybe he would be using more of the final set of tires, more than what Green did, so there may be some legitimate strategy involved there. Strategy confusion reigns supreme here at Spa late at night. The gap between Cavacho and Karts is honestly pretty large right now. I believe Cavacho is on softs, right? Yeah, I think he's on softs. There we are, Unfolded pitting now. So we'll see Geekin join him in the pits. Cavacho should briefly end up ahead of Unfolded and Geekin, but our real interest is going to be, where is Karts going to be in relation? Real quickly, we take a look at Karts, who's going down the front straightaway now. Who's already opening the gap on Geeking and Unfolded. As they come out of the pits, Unfolded is well behind Karts. So maybe that was it. Maybe Karts was trying to do something so he doesn't have to worry about overtaking anymore. And if that's the case, that may be it. That might be all that Karts needs to get away from Unfolded. And now, trying to get a run on Blue Streak to overtake the other Mercedes and start running down Cavacho. Big thing to consider is that distance penalties, Karts has a bit over a 2/10 advantage right now. Did we just lose Origin? I think we just lost another NWR driver. Yep, that's another driver we've lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we have lost almost a driver per pit stop thus far, as Origin is our newest driver to drop out now. Cavacho has yet to make his 6th stop. And again, we're anticipating that Cavacho will go soft to the end. His tires will be hurting a little bit, but he should be good to the end. We don't know what Kart's strategy is. We think possibly an 8th stop, like what the other ESV driver did. Unfolded has completely kind of fallen off the pace now. While Unfolded is in an okay position in distance penalty, he's still behind Karts. Just not looking good. I will give TNR Geekin credit. If one of our top 3 completely misfire on strategy, might be able to snipe a top 3. Bit of a fight here going on between Bunter and Glizzy. But this has been a race of attrition for the majority of the field. If you're not in that top 3 fight, the main thing has just been Can you survive to the end? We have lost roughly a car per pit stop. We're just a little bit behind that, but roughly a car per pit stop. And at that rate, these drivers, Bunter and Glitzy, assuming they're not ones who drop out next, they could be on for a top 10 finish. Thing is that overall, this is a distance event. So it's not like, so this would not only be a top 10 result, but it would also give them massive advantages over the NWR drivers we've seen drop out, the likes of Ardno, Skitty, and Pipes. Again, Pipes didn't lag out. Pipes had a fueling issue and left because of that, because he basically ran out of fuel on track because he did not get the car properly refueled. Also, I do want to give a little bit of good news. We've actually ended up ahead of schedule when it comes to advertisements, so we will be ad-free for the remaining 30 minutes of this event. So no ads to the end here at Spa-Francorchamps. Baller in the pits now. So he's gone, I believe, a lap and a half down at this point. And I think Blue Streak has gone 2 laps down at this stage of the event. Bunter in the Dodge has the advantage over the Mercedes of Glizzy. Glizzy also is behind the 8 ball when it comes to penalties right now as well. Again, we look at the overall penalties. Cavatro is nearly at a third of a mile. Cavatro is going to be in position that even if he's well ahead of parts that unfold, you could still lose a position or two just because of distance penalties. Deleave has crossed the third of a mile mark, well, 3/4 of a mile mark on distance penalties. And again, he is on track to be an entire mile down in distance penalties. Micro is exactly at half a mile. Arkina is almost at 7/10. Those are the drivers with most distance penalties at this stage of the event. CJ at one point was really good on distance penalties, but it seems like it's just kind of slipped away from him now. Oh, and Micro's just gotten another hit of distance penalties just ahead, probably from extending the track in the Al Rouge Radion complex. So we see the Ferrari loses control so easily through there that I can't really say I'm surprised. All right, Cavatro into the pits now. Parts will inherit the lead back. Where is Cavatro going to end up in relation to Unfolded and Geekin? Because if Cavatro has to deal with Geekin again, this could be catastrophic for him. But if he only has to deal with Unfolded, it may not be so bad. Parts goes back to the lead now. There goes Unfolded, who started strong, was looking really strong in the first half of this race, but it seems like it's all just kind of fallen apart for him as this has gone on. Now, I've got bad news for Cavatro. Geekin has cleared him. Cleared him by a respectable amount as well. So if Cavatro still has to worry about overtaking Geekin on track, I think it's going to completely derail any chance that Geekin may have had of stealing the win. Maybe even take him out of stealing the second place. Again, the big thing is that Cavatro has a massive amount of distance penalties, and that's going to kill you more than anything else around here. To be fair, Cavattro is running Geekin down, and I do wonder, maybe he has a shot at getting him here in these next few laps. So the big thing is, it's one thing to get him, you need to pass him and pass him quickly. And when it comes to tire life, Geekin is at 26%, so he's going to be on track for a little bit longer here. So it's not like Cavattro can hope on just getting a tow in Sector 3 and then Geekin suddenly pulls off. He's going to have to deal with this Mercedes for a while. Cavattro's pulling up behind Geekin once more. This is it. Thing is, he's calm in Sector 2, where the Mercedes is historically stronger. But Geekin is not karts. He's not been as fast as karts. Could Cavattro snooker him? In Sector 2, oh, he put the bumper to him! He put the bumper to him! Well, Geekin will probably put a report in on that, but Cavattro puts the bumper to Geekin and is already up to third. He is not willing to be held up behind a Mercedes, and already he is stretching his legs and getting away. Unfolded is now up to nearly a 1/10 of a mile in distance penalty, so it is over. Karts is going to win this without a doubt. The question is going to be, can Cavattro catch Unfolded for second? Can he put the Chevrolet back into a second place starting spot for, well, what could be a second place starting spot in Stint 3? Here's Karts into the pits now. But he is now pitting, remember, pitting on average 1 lap earlier than Unfolded. And here's the other thing, with 23 minutes left, it could be close, but Karts could throw on the mediums and not stop again. Or he could pit and then pit one more time afterwards for a pair of softs. That's the big thing. We don't know what the strategy is going to be for the two drivers at the head of the field. Karts now cycles back to fourth. We'll see what his tires are like at the end of this lap, and we'll get an idea if he's on mediums or is he on softs. If he's on mediums, it will be tight, but he won't have to pit again. If he's on softs, he'll still have one more stop to make. For Unfolded, he has positioned himself to only make one more stop. He'll be paying with about 20 minutes left. Could throw on the mediums and go to the end without issue. Thing is, you lose so much time on the medium tires. Cutting out a pit stop may not be the way to go here because of how small the pit lane is, especially considering the overall lap time. Unfolded is really sliding those rear tires around right now. But he is definitely pitting this lap. And then there's Cavattro, who is on his own strategy, trying to run down Unfolded. We know he's going to pit one more time, and we'll go soft to the end. But does Cavattro have enough time to catch and pass Unfolded? And again, Cavattro has over a 1/3 of a mile in distance penalty. Unfolded doesn't quite even have a 1/10 of a mile in it. We're basically guaranteed that Karts is going to win this race unless he completely botches his strategy. And even then, I don't think he even has to worry about that. Karts has just gotten by Geekin without issue. Unfolded is in the pits now, but what is Karts' tires looking like? Yeah, he is definitely going to be at about 9 to 10% at the end of this lap, so he will have one more stop he has to make. if anything, I feel like Karts has taken the strategy that Green had and kind of making it even better because he's going to be getting more distance out of the final set of tires. So he's not going to be dealing with the tires falling off just a bit at the end of the run as much. If he's done 2 stints of only going 5 laps instead of all of them doing 6 laps, that final stint he'll be getting 5 laps of life out of the tires instead of just the 3 that Green did. So again, Karts may have a good, be slower than Green, but I think he's perfected the strategy that Green's on. The thing is, of course, is it going to work? Because he does seem to be slower than Green was in stint 1. I think it's going to. If I had to put money down, I would definitely put it on Karts making it work, but he has not been nearly as bulletproof as Green has been. A little less than 20 minutes left. More than likely, we will see Karts pitting. It will be about 3 to 4 more laps before he pits. For Unfolded, he is not going to make another stop, I imagine. We'll see. I can tell you for sure once he gets to the end of the lap, but I imagine that Unfolded is not making another stop. I imagine he'll put on the mediums. If he's got all softs, though, it's kind of race over because that would put him on the same strategy we believe Karts to be on, but with a worse allocation of the tires, and he's down on distance penalties, and he's down on overall distance as a whole. I think Unfolded is on the mediums. I think. We know Cavattro is going to be pitting one more time. We have every reason to believe that, oh, and Unfolded's in the door. That's not going to help him. Now, of course, there is the Geekin problem, the Geekin question. What is Geekin's strategy looking like? Could Geekin steal a third out of all this? He's been kind of by himself, invisible in 4th, but the top 3 have all done stuff that has kind of costed time from them all. And yeah, only at about 5.8%, so Unfolded is definitely on mediums to the end. He is not making another stop. Cavattro at the head of the field will likely pit in 2 more laps. So he'll likely pit with about 13 to 14 minutes left. We'll throw on the softs one more time, and we'll have to charge through the field. Karts. I imagine he'll also pit in about 2 to 3 more laps, and we'll have to do much of the same. The big thing is, Cavattro right now is well ahead of Karts. Could the extra pit stop derail Karts here? Could Cavattro snooker this? He committed to doing his medium stint very early on. He's going to be flying to the end of this. And if him and Karts both have a stop, it might work out. The big thing, though, the bigger thing, is that in distance penalties, Karts has Cavattro's number, and it's really not even close. It's like 0.3 of a mile difference. So Karts could very easily still win this away from Cavattro, even if Cavattro is clear of him. And then we have Geekin. He is going to be pitting this lap, I imagine. If he throws on the softs, he'd have to make them last. But if a lap is 2 minutes 20 and he pits with 15 minutes left or so, he'd have to go like 9 laps. 9 laps? That's not right. 220 and 220 is 440. That'd be 6. He'd go 8 laps. Problem for Geekin is that 8 laps is just not enough for softs, but it's not enough to warrant mediums, but too long for softs. Geekin's kind of between a rock and a hard place right now. Either he needs to go another lap this time so he can spread it out a little more evenly in something. I think Geekin's honestly the one with the worst strategy out of everyone. Everyone else seems to have a strategy that might not win them the event, but might get them a good result. Geekin, I could see bleeding off a lot of time here. Okay, so he's going to go another lap. So he'll pit with about 12:30. Okay, I think Geekin can throw on the softs. and go to the end then with just 7 pit stops. Quattro is your leader. We are almost guaranteed that he will be stopping this time. Karts runs in second. He could go a little longer on the tires if he so chooses, but he can't go to the end without another stop. And Quattro has maintained most of his distance on karts. But once Quattro pits, he's likely going to end up behind both Geekin and Unfolded. Now, though, granted, Geekin's probably going to pit this lap as well, so it may not matter with Geekin, but it will matter with Unfolded. Unfolded could end up being the cork in the bottle. We could see our top 3 all end up on top of each other here at the very end. The big thing, though, is that when it comes to distance penalties, it's very obvious who's got the advantage there, and with the amount of distance penalties everyone has, unless Unfolded is way ahead of Karts, I think Karts has this just off the back of distance penalties. He's not had the speed that Green has had, but I think he has taken Green's pit stop strategy and pretty much perfected it, or come pretty darn close to perfecting it at least. All right, there's Quattro in the pits now. We anticipate that Geekin will be joining him shortly, but what of Karts? Is he paying this lap, or is he going to go another circuit? He'll go another circuit. All right. And there's Geekin in. Where is Unfolded going to end up in relation to Quattro? Quattro is still in pit lane now. Unfolded is going down the front straightaway. Again, remember though, Unfolded does not have to make another stop, but he is on the harder compound tire. Quattro has already used his harder compound tire. Well, Quattro's already come out of the pits. He has 13 minutes to try and run him down. We've got, what, 7 laps left, basically, in the event? 7, 6, somewhere around there? Probably 6 laps left. Does Unfolded have the advantage over Quattro? He's got track position. He also has a distance advantage as well. The other question is going to be Karts. When Karts makes his stop, how far behind Unfolded and Quattro is he going to end up being? He'll definitely be paying this lap. Of that, I have no doubt. And then he'll only have about 4 or 5 more laps to run after that. How much time is he going to lose in the process? Geekin, I think, is absolutely out of it. There's just no way that he closes in on the fight amongst the top 3. It's just not happening. All right, here it comes now. This is it. Unfolded is in Sector 3 now. Karts has just come into the pits. But again, Unfolded has more worn tires, and his tires are harder anyway. So it's a matter of how much ground can he gain. We'll see him cross by while Karts is still in his pit box. And the other question is Quattro. So despite the strength of the Mercedes, it looks like it is going to be 3 different manufacturers fighting for this. It may not be one on track. It might end up being one instead in the distance penalties. Karts is way behind Cavatro on track. And even more behind Unfolded. Has Unfolded made it happen? He's laid back, he saved his tires, and jumped onto the mediums at the very end of the event. But he's going to continue to hammer his distance to second and third as this goes on. Most of the other positions on track have already been settled. It's just the top three, and we don't quite know how it's going to turn out.
Remain.
I couldn't tell. So it's about a 1,558-foot gap in distance penalties right now between Karts and Cavatro. So yes, it is very possible that Karts will leapfrog Cavatro for second. But for the lead, that's only 175 feet difference between Unfolded and Karts. So I could very easily imagine that Unfolded could make this stick. The thing is, again, Unfolded's only going to continue to get slower and slower compared to the two behind. Could he have pulled this off perfectly? Fought a long time with Karts, but started backing off, losing pace, we thought. But now maybe it's not a matter of losing pace. Maybe he was just adjusting himself, adjusting his pace. Now he is on an alternate strategy. It's giving him the track position. He's on a good mark when it comes to distance penalties as well for now, but he needs to not add to it, and he needs to minimize the amount of time lost. Cavatro, I think, is going to catch him by this time this is over. Possibly even pass him. But with over a third of a mile in distance penalties, I don't see any way that he can pull off anything better than a third. Boy, this gap's really closed down on this lap here. Between first and second. And Karts is closing as well. Karts is now in a position down the Camel Straight. He can see both of the two drivers ahead of him. I think we're only going to have about 3 laps left. 3 full laps. And even then, I don't even think we're going to get the entirety of the third lap in. Boy, that gap has really shrunk down now. It does not look like Karts is really closing on Cavatro either. The extra pit stop might be a better strategy than what might be a perfection of the strategy that Green did, but the counterpoint is that Karts is not at the same speed that Green is at. So he can't really take advantage of it. And while the gap between the top three continues to shrink, it's not shrinking at the rate that Karts needs it to be. He needs Unfolded to basically lay over and die. And I just don't see that happening. Credit where credit is due, Deleve has kind of stemmed the bleeding of distance penalties. It is Arkina now who has the biggest amount of distance penalties at 0.872. It's just honestly horrendous time for the lone remaining NWR driver in the field. Now he's at 0.936. He might honestly hit a full mile worth of distance penalty by the time this is over. It's just not looking good for him. This is the bit, the very end of Sector 3, and the front straightaway is where Cavacho is at his strongest compared to his rivals on track. It's only about 2 seconds between the top two right now. It will be not quite 2 more laps. So they're probably going to end this race somewhere in the start of Sector 3. Not this lap, but next circuit. Oh, and Unfolded's got another time penalty. Distance penalty. He's now to 0.127. That's great news for Karts, because now Karts doesn't have to be as close to Unfolded. Could that be it? Could that be all it takes to give the win back to Karts? Because these two are going to fight. And they will slow each other down, and Karts will close in with speed. Is that it? Does Karts now get the win, based off of the final distance penalty that Unfolded has just earned? And Cavacho is there. Unfolded is feeling the pressure now. Does he fight Cavacho, or does he just let the Chevrolet go? Cavacho puts the bumper to the Dodge. Does he make a move here? He dives to the inside. There's the move. Not the greatest place to make a move at, but it will work. Does he have the speed out of the corner to get by? No, he's still going to be side by side through another set of corners. And Unfolded is trapped on the outside. Cavacho muscling his way through on the inside, but it took so many corners to complete the pass. And Karts is so much closer now. And now suddenly Unfolded is coming back. But it's on the outside. You don't want to be on the outside. He backs out, but he's trying to get the draft off of the Chevrolet. Trying to claw some distance back. Oh, Cavacho had a bad run through the final chicane that time. And you can see Karts there. I think Karts is going to get this. Unfolded lost too much time fighting with Cavacho. A little less than 2 minutes left now. That time penalty and the amount of time he spent fighting with Cavacho at the end might be all it takes for Karts to steal this back. Cavacho's pretty much guaranteed third. The fight is going to be for second, and Unfolded needs to be right behind Cavacho and basically have Cavacho tow him all the way around just so he can try to open the gap on Karts, and even then, I just don't see it happening. I think Karts has this, with just over a minute left. Oh my goodness, Karts is really closed in now. It's over. I think Karts only needs to be within about 250 feet of Unfolded, and He's most definitely going to be within that gap. Cavacho has broken the draft between himself and the Dodge of Unfolded. 40 seconds left. And look at the tire wear on the Dodge, 57%. They'll make it on fuel at least. 25 seconds left now. Karts is almost in a position, if there was even half of another lap, he would catch Unfolded on merit. I don't think the distance penalty has really been the big factor. Karts has legitimately been just barely fast enough. He's going to pull it off here. With 5 seconds left, ESV Karts will take back-to-back wins for the ESV team here at Spa in stints 1 and 2. Unfolded gets second. The gap between them is 4 hundredths of a mile. And that will end our second stint. We're going to go to ad break here. And when we come back, we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers here. Oh my God, are my ears bleeding? No, okay, they're not bleeding. And we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers after this ad break. All right, well, hello again, Geekin.
Hello.
Twice in a day. Yeah, just knocking out a final ad break here. And I don't know if anyone else is going to jump in, but...
Sounds good.
All right, here we are. Yeah, we got an Unfolded here. Yeah, we'll start out interviews shortly after I finish this ad break here, Unfolded. That was a lot tighter than I thought it was going to end up being. All right, welcome back here to Spa-Francorchamps as our second stint of the day has ended. ESV Karts is your winner, but we want to hear from our second place finisher, EXR Unfolded. Unfolded, go ahead, include your audio in the Xbox party. So close, but so short at the end. What do you have to say about your run out there today, mate?
Yeah, definitely say I improved second stint. The first stint I was just a little off, but pitch strategy I had worked out, so did the same thing for this stint, and it was a really close finish, and GG's to Cavacho and Carr, so that was fun.
All right, we saw a big hunk of time penalty show up in the very last about 15 minutes. What happened? Was it just the tires were going off? Was it just fatigue? What caused that? Because for a long time, you were honestly pretty close to Karts when it came to distance penalties.
Yeah, definitely hands starting to get sore. Double stinting to be doing that, and just lack of experience on mediums. I wasn't really expecting to run mediums on any of my stints, but maybe turned out to be better. So just lack of practice, I'd say.
All right, who's going to be filling in for that Dodge in the final stint of the day?
Yeah, it'll be Rusty. So he's going to close it out.
All right, we'll be really interested to see how that turns out. But great fight out there. Kind of a shame you ended up on the losing side of it. But yeah, you put together a great run out there, mate. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us as well.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. GG's,
I also
everyone.
want to go ahead. Yep. I also want to talk one more time with TNR Geekin. Geekin, make sure your audio is included. Back-to-back fourth place finishes. Without a doubt, you are the best performing TNR driver thus far today. Do you feel that the second stint was any different than the first stint for you?
Well, I was definitely more comfortable going into the second stint. I was obviously looking to improve. We couldn't do anything with the last stint But I mean, we showed we're on pace. I'm looking at the times here. I mean, I'm on pace, but the fast people were about 3/10 ahead. It's just I gave it all I could, but you just couldn't quite get there. Tried messing around with improvising with the pit strategy. Went for the mediums, stint 6 instead of 7. We had nothing to lose. It was just trying to see what we could do, but it's a little frustrating. We're not losing places, but we're not gaining anything either. But it is what it is. You can just take what you learn.
Well, it was a pretty solid run out there, one way or another. Nice, quiet, solid. Who's going to be filling in for that car in Stint 3?
It's gonna be Zach's.
TNR Zax? How do you spell that name?
Yeah, ZACXX, I believe. Yeah, let me get that right.
Okay, I don't think I've
Yeah,
ever seen him.
ZACXX. Yeah,
I
he does.
don't think I've ever seen him before. So, interesting.
Well, it is what it is. He's a good driver.
Yeah. Well, irregardless, with that in mind, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. And that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Spa, unless anyone else has anything to say. P1R Turk should be the one who streams the final stint in about an hour's time, because I'm going to be busy hosting a season finale race in a 90s Japanese Super GT series. But until then, thank you everyone for joining us. Farewell everyone, and goodbye. We look forward to seeing you all in about a month's time for the next P1R SEC Enduro. Until then, farewell and goodbye everyone.
GG's.
GG's.
All right.